Hi, first grade. It's Miss Rudolph here. Happy Wednesday. It is time for our social studies lesson. So, we have been talking about time, past, present, and future. We've been learning more about the calendar and how a week works and a day works and a month works and how a year works, all those certain things. So, we're going to continue that conversation and we are going to be talking about what we call primary sources. Can you say primary sources? Great job. So let's read together. A primary source is a record of an event as it was first described. A primary source is usually made by a person who was there when the event occurred. So, for example, we've been learning a lot about time and things like that. So, a primary source is when something happens in the past. A primary source comes from somebody that was at that event that happened in the past, and it's passed down. Examples of primary sources are photographs, pictures, letters, so letters from people long ago that wrote letters to their family and friends, things like that, diaries. I don't know if you know what a diary is, but a diary is kind of like a journal, like a book, and you can keep record of your thoughts and your feelings and things like that. Artifacts. You may not know what an artifact is. Can you say artifact? Great job. An artifact is an item made or used by people in the past. So for example, I'm going to show you a cool picture in a little bit of an axe that was used in the past. It looks different than the axes we have today, and the people in the past would use their axe to cut down wood so they could build their homes and furniture and things like that. Another example of a primary source are books as well. We can use primary sources to learn about the past. We can compare what we learn about the past to our daily lives. So, for example, we could see what happened in the past and then see what happens today, and we can see how it's similar and how it's different. It's very cool. So, look here, friends, these are examples of primary sources. Right here, I have an old photograph. So, as you can see, it's pretty wrinkly and torn up because of how old it is. If you notice, it's also black and white. Now today, friends, we can choose to make our pictures black and white, but long ago in the past, they didn't have the option to make it black or white or color like we do today. So a lot of old photographs look like this, black and white. You can kind of look at their clothes to see what kind of clothes they wore um, in the past. You can see how they wore their hair and all types of stuff. So I like looking at old photographs. Here we have a letter. This is another example of a primary source. People in the past would write their loved ones letters and things like that because it was hard to communicate because of phone access and things like that, depending on um, the date you're looking at. So they would use letters to communicate with family and friends and things like that. We're going to talk about this, but when you look at letters, you can see that you can see what's going on in their lives, how they lived, how they thought, and things like that. And then down here, we have what it looks like to be an axe or kind of like a hammer type thing. This is what people use to build things and cut wood down to make their homes and things like that. It's pretty cool. History, we're going to learn what history is. History is what happened in the past. We can study history to learn about people, places, and events in the past. Learning about the past helps us make better decisions today and in the future. So, for example, in the past, if people did something that did not work and we know about that here in the present day, are we going to try that, friends? No, because we know it didn't work. So, we can take things that happened in the past, look at it, and say, okay, that was a good decision. We're going to keep that going. Or that was not a good decision. It did not work. So, we're not going to do that anymore. Just like what we learned in growth mindset, it's okay to make mistakes, but we've got to learn from those mistakes, right? All right. Okay, let me move my picture. Whoops. All right, friends, let me move this down. There we go. We can use primary sources to learn about the past. We can use photographs to get a view of the past. We can see the clothes people wore and the houses they built. We can learn what types of transportation people used. We can see what people did at work and school by looking at pictures. We can study letters to learn about the past. We can read letters to learn what life was like. We can also read letters to learn what people were thinking. We can study books written in the past. Books may describe how people lived and what people believed. We can also study artifacts to learn about the past. And remember, artifact is a new word that I want you to remember. Those are things that were made and used by people in the past. Examples of artifacts are dishes, so old dishes, tools, and weapons. These items left behind give us clues to how people lived. Okay, very good. So what we're going to do now is I have a letter that was written right here, and we're going to look at it, and I am going to ask you a couple questions. So this was a letter from the past. Now you may say, Miss Rudolph, how do you know it was from the past? Well, friends, look at the date. July 14th, 1855. We are in the year 2020. We are in the year of 2020, okay? This was all the way back in 1855, a long, long, long ago. So that is one clue that I know this is from the past. So let's read this. July 14th, 1855. Dear Cousin Andy, a tornado hit our house yesterday. Everyone is safe, but our cabin was destroyed. All of the cows and horses ran away. We do not have any milk or any way to plow the fields. Can you come help us rebuild? Your cousin Ted. So again, they didn't have a phone that they could call each other to say, hey, what's up? Can you come help us? They also might have lived far apart, so they would have to make plans for Cousin Andy to come help Cousin Ted. So, but it's really cool because this was a way that they communicated in the past. You know, they didn't have texting, they didn't have email like we do today, but they did have paper and pen or pencil, so they could write letters to their loved ones to ask for help and things like that. Now, remember this letter, okay? Let's answer a couple questions. What is the primary source? What is the primary source? Is it A, it was written, oh, I'm sorry, let's back up a little bit. Number one, why is this a primary source? So why is this letter a primary source? A, it was written by someone at the event, or B, it was written by a famous person. So I want you to give me a thumbs up for A, and I want you to give me a thumbs down for B. That's right. Great job, friends. Give yourself a pat on the back. It's A. It was written by someone at the event. So if we go back, okay, this cousin Ted right here, he was talking about a tornado that happened. He was telling his cousin Andy about the tornado that happened. He was at the event. Number two, what caused the damage to Ted's cabin? A tornado or cows and horses? What I want you to do is go ahead and put your finger on your nose if you think it's tornado, and put your hand on your head if you think it's cows and horses. Good job. You should have put your finger on your nose. It was a tornado. And how we know that, friends, is it says a tornado hit our house yesterday. I read that. It was right there in the letter. Good job. Let's look at number three. How did Ted's family rely on cows? A, they were pets, or B, they provided milk. So I want you to clap your hands if you think it was A, and I want you to tug your ear if you think it was B. You should have been tugging your ear. If you did, give yourself a pat on the back. They provided milk. So friends, cows are nice. We love animals, right? But they're not necessarily pets. Especially in the past, people relied on animals like cows for milk and things like that. And because they ran away, they were worried they wouldn't have any milk. All right, friends. So now what I want to do is I'm going to come on here and I'm going to explain the activity you're going to do today. So there is an activity on Seesaw that I would like you to look at. There is a picture of what it looked like to live many, 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 many years ago in the past. And what I want you to think about is how Did they live in the past? How does that look different than how we live today? And there are some questions that you need to answer. So you have three options. You can take a screenshot and then use the Seesaw tools to answer it. You can print it out if you're lucky enough to have a printer. Or you can take a plain piece of paper and write your answers to the questions and then take a picture of that and upload it. But you need to do all the questions and you need to submit it by 11:59 tonight to Seesaw under the social studies activity for today. Now, we have been asking you to do things at the end of our videos to make sure you're watching the whole video. So what I want you to do is on the screenshot, on the paper you printed, or the paper you wrote the answers, I want you to draw a purple circle on your homework. Whatever you did, a purple circle, that's going to tell me that you watched the whole video. Purple circle. Don't forget that. All right, everyone, have a great day. As always, if you need anything, let me know.